Digging up the dirt on the NDP, that is the topic of tonight's byline. There's an old saying for people who cover politics: follow the money. Today's story might be better described as follow the cash. Andrew Cash, that is. The musician turned New Democrat MP has put himself in quite the pickle. Cash has been taking cash from CBC while demanding that the state broadcaster get more cash. Did you follow that? Well, let me walk you through it a bit slower. You know that the media party has been all aflutter over senators spending, near silent on Justin Trudeau taking tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands actually, from unions and schools. But while we're looking at the naughty business of Parliament Hill, let me direct your attention to this disclosure statement from Mr. Andrew Cash. When he became an MP, the former bandmate of fellow dipper Charlie Angus declared he had a second source of income. This uber leftist, former Now magazine writer, wrote the theme music for Dragon's Den, the show all about capitalism and finding the next great business idea. Dragon's Den is, of course, on CBC, Canada's state broadcaster, which must report to the Commons Standing Committee on Heritage. When Cash was put on the Heritage Committee, he promised not to participate in debates or votes regarding CBC. He said so in this letter to the chair of the committee and the clerk of the committee. Here's a copy of the letter from the clerk back to Cash showing that commitment. The letter was dated September 27, 2011. A month later, Cash was talking to Hubie Lacroix, CBC's lovable president, about how great they are and how CBC needs more money. Does he want them to get more cash so Cash can get more cash? We're not sure. Here's part of what he said to Hubie in October 2011. $1 input nets a $4 output. That's what he told the Heritage Committee, citing the, well, really fluff study from Deloitte & Touche. We are anticipating cuts. We hear the story often that cuts really affect anything, or won't really affect anything, but we know that cuts do. We need to understand more clearly what is in the horizon in terms of job losses at the CBC. Wow. Is he protecting his own income there? Then in May 2011, Cash attacked Heritage Minister James Moore for daring to cut CBC's budget by a tiny bit. And we can only assume Cash's income by a bit as well. He said to Moore, "You are James the Knife. You've cut at the CBC. You've cut art. You've cut funding for artists. Minister, I don't know if this government really understands how artists make a living." Well, I understand how Andrew Cash makes a living. He gets money from CBC, then argues in Parliament they need more money. It's a great system. Now, in addition to speaking up for more money for CBC, Cash also voted on matters relating to money for CBC while cashing checks from the state broadcaster. Is it any wonder that no one will dare ask questions of CBC? I mean, I do, but you know that other journalists won't? We know that many conservatives are scared to ask questions of CBC lest the network unleash its formidable resources against them. And of course, we know that the Liberals, the Bloc, and the NDP, well, they don't dare ask questions because they're all politically aligned on the left with the state broadcaster. Well, now we know that at least one member of Her Majesty's loyal opposition won't be asking tough questions because he's on the payroll, like so many journalists in Ottawa. Cash needs to come clean. And given that he can't be trusted to do the right thing and live up to the commitments he made, he needs to resign from this committee. And that's the byline.
We believe that only a judge should have the right to demand the disclosure of information that relates to our creative activities or is journalistic or program related.
I never tire of hearing from Hubie, and I bet Hubie never hears of tiring from Andrew Cash about how great he is and how they need more money. But of course, as we've just discussed, that's not the right thing to do. Joining me now for further discussion on this is the man that broke the story for Sun News, David Aiken. David, good job on this, pulling apart some stuff that some of it was publicly available, talking to people, getting the right sources going. What are MPs on the other campaigns or other parties saying about this? They've sat on the committee with Andrew Cash as he's done all this.
And this is one of these stories hiding in plain sight because it's right there. It's not the most easy stuff to find, but you're right, piecing it together. Well, first of all, The Liberals say Cash should resign from the Heritage Committee. That's the first thing. No way he should be sitting on that committee.
They didn't know about all of this.
No, in fact, one of the things today was just phoning around to members of this Heritage Committee, Conservatives and Liberals, who've sat on this committee for a couple of years. And first of all, they all say Andrew Cash has been one of the biggest advocates for CBC. He's not shy about talking about why he sees the CBC as a valuable thing. And,
because he gets money from them.
Well, and this is exactly what the Conservatives were saying, that they say, you know, we need to know more about, you know, were you doing this for whatever financial interest? One thing about these disclosures is the value of the contract. You don't have to disclose a contract unless it's worth at least $10,000. So that's not an insignificant amount. So Cash's contract would have been for at least $10,000. So he's been on this committee
just to be clear,
for these.
He can't turn around and say, well, this contract that I disclosed to the Conflict of Interest Commissioner, well, it's only for a few $100, so this doesn't matter. This has to be $10,000 is more than a lot of pensioners
get.
And
so let's get through. It's $10,000 earned from this contract in the previous 12 months from the disclosure. This is 2011, or expect to receive that amount in the following 12 months. In any event, he was on the Heritage Committee at the time. He made this commitment in September 2011, saying...
And then a month later.
And then a month later, after saying he would not debate or vote on these issues, quite clearly debating the issue of CBC funding, and as far as we can tell, he voted on the issues. Now, the voting thing is a little bit dodgier to try and pin down in terms of some paper trail, because they just literally put their hands up. But again, talking to every member of that committee today and asking them, can you recall Andrew Cash ever saying, excuse me, Chair, I can't vote on that because I have a conflict of interest? None of them, as I say, there's 6 Conservatives, 1 Liberal, NDP aren't talking. None of them can say Cash never ever stood up and said, can't vote on that one. So he voted on these things, and certainly we have the record that he debated on these things. And now, as I say, the Liberal MP, John McCallum, is saying Cash should resign, and the Conservatives, you know, they want some more information about exactly what Cash was getting from the CBC.
I mean, I do love that this is for Dragon's Den, which is a show all about capitalism.
Sure.
And Andrew Cash is not all about capitalism. So that part is a bit rich. Now, let me ask you this. There is a bit of a fury, a bit of a flurry of activity around MPs and senators filings.
And that's why we got onto this, because of Trudeau. Because Trudeau's speaking fees, right?
I don't know if you saw the Toronto Star yesterday. They were, huge headlines screaming that Senator Pamela Wallin, conservative Senator Pamela Wallin, has an apartment in New York. Never claimed the apartment, has nothing to do with her actual duties.
She has an apartment in New York, yes.
But that's how much people are going through. This one, so far, hasn't been picked up elsewhere.
Well, no, and that's because we're breaking it right here. We'll see tomorrow, I guess, if people want to pursue this. We'll see what happens in the House of Commons next week, because don't forget, MPs are out of Ottawa this week. They're on a break week back home. And one of the things, as I say, I mentioned the Trudeau thing. When we started reporting that Trudeau was earning $277,000 in extra speaking fees while he was an MP. The thing about that is there's no violation of any House of Commons rules. A lot of MPs and a lot of Canadians think that that's not right, that an MP should not be collecting speaking fees, but nonetheless, Trudeau's broken no rules of the House of Commons. In this case, both Conservatives and Liberals are saying, no, Cash broke a rule. He made a commitment to the Ethics Commissioner. He violated his commission to the Ethics Commissioner, and in the Liberals' case, they're saying he shouldn't be serving on this committee.
All right, David, thanks so much. Clear case of conflict of interest, a violation of conflict of interest in my view, but what do you say? Send me your thoughts. Should he be cashing in his time on that committee? Byline@sunmedia.ca.